Today's session is focused on the duties and responsibilities of a state commissioner or state council. You know, although some of our commissioners and states have been doing this for many years, everyone's at a different level. And so this offers the opportunity for two great seasoned commissioners today to share their perspectives and then also provide some insight into maybe some best practices or ideas that you may want to adopt for your state. As Lindsay mentioned, this is an interactive session, so feel free to chime in and share in the chat box, or we'll let you know when you can speak. But we want to really, again, make this an interactive session where we're learning from each other, and hopefully we can gain some insight of what's happening in your different states. Our two commissioners, I'm sure all of you are familiar with these two individuals. Commissioner Rosemary Quaker, she has served as a state commissioner of Rhode Island since they adopted the compact in 2010. They're the 33rd state to have had adopted the compact. She is currently the superintendent of Middletown Public Schools, supporting Naval Station Newport, which is home to the Naval War College and Naval Justice Schools. So hers is a little bit different in that her schools transition, her family's transition pretty frequently, and sometimes more frequently than some of your typical military families. She's originally from New York, and she is a seasoned educator with over 45 years of experience as a teacher, administrator, and district superintendent. She is also a Milken Educator Award recipient and Rhode Island Superintendent of the Year in 2005. One thing I love about Rosemary, she's always passionate about kids, and her district's mission is really ensuring success for every student, which is similar for us, for the commission. Commissioner Quaker serves in a variety of roles on boards and organizations, including the National Association of Federally Impacted Schools, and also the Military Impacted Schools Association, two organizations that are really focused on supporting military families and children. She was appointed as Rhode Island's commissioner in 2010. I think I mentioned that earlier, and she served on the executive committee since 2015 in a variety of roles, one being the training and committee chair, the vice chair, and she was the 5th chairman of the commission from 2016 to 2018. Currently, she is the immediate past chair of the commission and leads the leadership nomination committee. So welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you. I started when I was 10, though, right? In education. So.
Exactly. You guys started out early in New York. And second, we have Commissioner Kathleen Murphy. She's been the state commissioner for New Hampshire since they adopted the compact in 2014. They are the second to the last state that have adopted the commission, but they are certainly not the last state to implement. She is currently the interim superintendent of Concord School District. She began her career as an elementary school teacher at Grinnell Elementary School in Derry, New Hampshire. She's a seasoned administrator and leader in New Hampshire and has been a principal, instructional supervisor, assistant superintendent, and superintendent. I didn't know this, but Commissioner Murphy also oversaw the Division of Division of Instruction in the New Hampshire Department of Education for 4 years. So learned something new. No wonder she's such a great leader in education. She has a background in special education and student services, and she was in 2017 honored as a superintendent of the year by the New Hampshire School Administrators Association. She was appointed as New Hampshire's commissioner for the compact in 2014, which is when they joined the compact. And again, both of these commissioners are superb individuals and really lend credibility to not only the organization as a whole, but for as seasoned educators, I think they work closely with kids and families and students. So they're really frontline when it comes to the work of the commission. So thank you, Commissioner Murphy and Commissioner Quaker. We're pleased to have you facilitate today's discussion.
Thanks, Reese.
Thank you very much. So first of all, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this town hall meeting. You'll hear from all of us about our passion for students and for military students. I have to say, in Rhode Island, when the compact was introduced to us, we've always served military families in Middletown, in Newport, and in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, the three most heavily impacted school districts. And I always kind of said, well, why do we need a compact? You know, we've been doing this for our students for a long time. They've been part of the fabric of our educational program because I taught in Middletown and was a principal here and then central office. But once I really got involved with the Military Interstate Compact, I learned why we need this compact. And it's really about the networking that we do with each other through, you know, now our new normal here with town halls, but at our annual business meetings, our tier group meetings and so forth, where you get to know the commissioners from other states. So when there is a particular issue about educational transitions for our families and our students, you really can pick up that phone and call Bob in Florida. I'm going to pick on you, Bob, or or call Deb in New York. And you know, so many of you, because we've had that face-to-face contact, and you know, as we go on through these roles and duties, you'll see that the relationships that we build as commissioners and school liaisons are so critical, and it certainly helps with the educational transitions for our students. I have to tell you, my main concern with all of us through this COVID is the level playing field that we are going to have for all of our students, but in particular our military students. You know, I have to say it's crazy, but I do lose sleep over that because we've had, in our district, we have been open. We have our pre-K through 5 fully in school. And our 6 through 12 are in a hybrid model. So they come in 2 days and then they do synchronous learning the days that they're not. But I thought of our military kids as they have moved, that really what have been those connections when they came to us in August and September. You couldn't do the social gatherings that we usually do. So, you know, we're all worried about this COVID slide and COVID effect, but the social emotional piece for all of our students, and in particular the military students, because they've now come to districts where they haven't had that connection, you know, with other students. And sports have been limited in Rhode Island. We now have a fall 2 season where we started football on Monday with snow on our turf. So just even those connections for our students. But I digress a little bit because I am preoccupied with how are we going to get our students back and connected, and that social emotional piece weighs on us, all of us. So the first slide talks about our duties and responsibilities. I don't know, Lindsay, someone's showing the slides. Can you see them?
Can someone indicate, are you all able to see the?
No, not yet.
Not yet. No, I can't see them, Lindsay.
Oh, I apologize. That was my mistake. There you go. Sorry.
Okay. So again, we want this to be interactive. It's very difficult to, you know, I miss that walking around the room and kind of, you know, touching and seeing you all. And so please raise your hand or put something in the chat. And I know Sharice and Lindsay are monitoring that so we can make this more interactive. But I do want to welcome everybody. You know, our SLOs are critical partners in the work that we do every day. You know, my SLO in Rhode Island, I don't know what I would do without her. She's really the first line of defense for all of our families. But first thing is, you know, become familiar with the statute, your state's compact statute, because every state is different. And I know we have these on our national website, all of the statutes, but there's little nuances in all of the state compact. You know, for instance, in Rhode Island, when we got a new governor after like our first 2 years of the compact. I was all in, a little bit of a tizzy saying, oh, the governor has to reappoint me and reappoint our state council. Well, no, in our state, you're just automatically, no matter how many governors we have, and we will have a new governor because our current governor is going to be hopefully be Secretary of Commerce under the Biden administration. But I didn't need to be reappointed. Now I know some of my colleagues, when governors change, they do need to be reappointed, and that's a process. So it's important to look at those whereases and all that state statute language, so you're very clear about the roles and responsibilities of the commissioner and your state council and the impact of the military interstate compact. And then it's important to establish meeting dates and establish your state council. Now, in many of the state compact statutes, they list who should be on your committee, like the superintendent for Rhode Island, again, it says the superintendent with the most heavily impacted military students. So while we have 3 districts here that have military students, 3 or 4, Middletown happens to be the most heavily impacted. So, by default or whatever, I get to be the commissioner. So, and then there are other that a state legislator has to be on it, a Department of Education, individual liaison has to be on it. So, again, looking at that compact statute will really tell you the makeup of what your state council needs to look like and the partners. Now, over the years, we have added members to our state council, and they're ad hoc members. They're not voting members, but it works. Like we've added our athletic director, we've added a community liaison person for our 3 districts. And so, as the need arises, we do add other people to our state council. Again, they're ad hoc members and they do not vote. The other piece for Rhode Island, my annual report has to go to not the General Assembly, but to our commissioner, our state commissioner of education. And, she looks at we have a liaison on our a committee who really gets the report and then briefs our state commissioner about, what we've done. Our state council really wants to meet just once a year, and we do that. I usually do that right after the annual business meeting. We have a new commander this year, and he asked us to have a meeting in the spring. So we'll be setting up a virtual meeting in the spring. So again, it's really the wishes of your state council and the amount of work the state council needs to do. I mean, knock on wood, in Rhode Island, our school liaison handles all of the issues. They really very seldom get to my level where I need to call another commissioner. I did actually have to this year. And, again, having those relationships and building those relationships with each other, it's solved right away. We do not have to bring it to higher levels. And even being a superintendent in Rhode Island, a small state, we have 36 districts. So the issue was of military family had issues with one community that doesn't have a lot of military students. So it was easy for me to pick up the phone, talk about the issue, explain the compact. They were familiar with the compact, and we solved the issue, and the student got credit for a course that she took in the middle school, or was able to advance to a more advanced course because she took that same course in the middle school. She was a freshman. So, you'll hear Kathleen say that too, building the relationships is really critical. Attending the annual business meeting is part of our responsibility. And again, that's just a wonderful opportunity to learn about the compact more, learn about best practices, talk to other commissioners about how they handle situations, and, again, meet each other. And the other great part is we're all requested to serve on a standing committee within the MIC3. And really, you put down your first choice. People are interested in finance. They often land on the finance committee. I was interested in training, and that's how I really, started my work with MIC3 and all of the commissioners on the training committee, and then as chair of the training committee. And then the other good piece is we have tier group meetings, and tier group meetings are like population groups. So we have a relatively small population of military students in Rhode Island. So I am partnered with other small states that have a smaller population. So that's always very, very helpful. Next slide. Next slide talks about the duties of a commissioner. Now we have a wonderful, and this is a big shout out to our national office under Sharice's leadership as executive director, and Lindsay, and we brought a new person aboard. They really handle, they do the heavy lift for all of the commissioners. They recognize that many of us have full-time jobs. And we do this because we love what we're doing for students and for military students, but they handle a great deal of the work for us. And we do need to submit a code of conduct and a conflict of interest form, but really national office, excuse me, sends that to us, and we return that to them. We do need to send our national office our meeting dates for our council meetings and agendas. And again, this is an effort to really share. So, what New York might put on their agenda, I might not have thought about putting on my agenda, or Massachusetts. So that is always helpful when we share those reports to national office, and submit any documentation by the end of the fiscal year to our national office. Again, meeting agendas, any trainings we might have done. If you go out and you train your guidance counselors in your state, or your school registrar offices or officials, any presentations you might have done, or any presentations I do with our school liaison office, I would send that off to national. And they archive it, they put it up on our website. Again, our website is very robust. We have a new one, new website. It's very robust, and really, draw down on using those materials. And then in terms of the website, it's just making sure with all the transitions that we keep Sharice and our national office informed about any changes. So if we have a new state commissioner, I would tell Sharice, the commissioner has moved on, we have a new one. Our legal has moved on, we have a new one. We have a new commanding officer, here's his or her name, type of thing. And then responding timely to commission requests and referrals. So if another commissioner does call you from a state and says, I have a little issue here, make sure we return that call or that request to the commission in a timely way, because again, they're handling all of us, all the 50+ states. Next slide. When we look at resignations and term end, we know that there's a great deal of turnover in our states. So it's our responsibility as maybe the outgoing commissioner to inform our national office about a change about any state appointing authority. Again, a new mayor, a new governor coming along, that we keep the national office apprised of any changes. The appointment of a new commissioner, if you're retiring or moving on to a different job position, there'd be an appointment of a new commissioner, kind of being that liaison with the national office and the new commissioner, and have some kind of a transition for that new commissioner to come into the fold. Next. This is the legalese of about our compact rules, and what I like about it is what it says is a state shall attempt to resolve disputes or controversies by communicating with each other by telephone, so on and so forth. I can't emphasize that enough. That ability to call another commissioner to help resolve the issues. I told you about the one this year. I had one a few years ago. I even forget the state, I think it was Virginia. But to be able to call that commissioner and say, I had a student move from Rhode Island. This is what the student took. She had left early. They had orders early, and she left early May. And in Rhode Island, we don't end school till the end of June, very close to the end of June. And it was too late for her to register in Virginia for school. So the ability to call that commissioner, and because when they enrolled in school, they said, oh, you didn't finish out your freshman year. Well, she had finished out her freshman year. She was shy a month, but we gave her the grades that she had. But the ability to call that commissioner, explain the situation, it was all resolved, and we didn't have to go to any higher level, which really talks about item B, failure to resolve a dispute or controversy. And I'll tell you, Little Rhode Island, we did have one that we needed our national executive board and attorney to weigh in on. It was a special ed, as you can imagine. We get most of the areas where we have some disputes or need oversight are at the high school in terms of credits, kindergarten, and special education. So, we try to do everything at our level, at a state level, to resolve this. And we just couldn't. The parent saw it one way, we saw it another way. I had to bring it to the executive director's attention. The ExCom, the executive committee got involved. The MIC attorney got involved. And we did solve it after that. But when you look at the next slide, it would have gone to mediation or arbitration. And we want to avoid that at all costs. If you can solve it at the very lowest level, that's what we want to do. Talk it out. And I know Sharice shares the number of cases that National does have and hears about, and how they are resolved. So, that would be the last resort, a mediation or an arbitration. So are there any questions? Or I haven't been looking in the, yes, we will send the slides or they'll be posted to the participants. And are there any other questions or in the chat here that I'm missing? Sharice added in, upon receipt, all state council agendas and minutes and end of the year report are reported on the state's website. So that's a little bit of my piece in terms of our duties and responsibilities. Any questions or concerns? I know I talk like a New Yorker. I went through that quickly. Thank you. I saw some thumbs up, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I think Kathleen is going to handle some about a state council. And I know we have a number of members on here who have very successful state councils, and I've used a lot of their ideas. So, Kathleen.
Right. Thank you, Rosemary. That was great. I feel like I'm the rookie, because Rosemary has been around for a while and is so articulate in all the rules and regulations. So I consider myself a rookie here. So bear with me as I go through my slides. And I have to tell you, the first person I called when I was appointed as the commissioner in 2014 in New Hampshire, guess who it was? It was my friend from Rhode Island, Rosemary. So, those connections are really, really critical, and I feel comfortable calling anyone or hearing from anyone. So I think that's important. We talked about New Hampshire was the second last state to sign the compact, and second last to my friend from New York, Deb. And I think we were just a few days apart, but it was really kind of an interesting story how it happened, and I thought I'd share it with you. I was the chair of the Southeast Superintendents. The Southeast Superintendents are superintendents all along our coast, and although it's not a very large coast, they're all of 13 miles in New Hampshire, but those districts represent the southeastern portion of New Hampshire. And I was the chair, and we were concerned about students that were coming in and out of the base over in Portsmouth, the Navy base over in Portsmouth. And we were concerned about our students coming in. At the time, I was the superintendent in Hampton. And so it was important to us to make sure that we had regulations in place or guidance, at least guidance, to help us with our students and their families. So we wrote a letter because the legislature had met a number of times, had defeated the compact. And I know folks came up from Kentucky trying to convince the stubborn Yankees in New Hampshire to move on the compact. And so it finally was approved in 2014. But I had signed this letter, and apparently the letter went from the Department of Ed to the governor's office, and I got a call from the governor and asking me to be the commissioner. And how do you say no to when the governor calls you and asks you to do something? That was my first thought. The second was, always be careful what letters you sign, because you never know what's going to happen and what responsibilities you take. So it was a great, we were so pleased in New Hampshire to be able to integrate the compact into our work in the schools. So it's really, it's been helpful. New Hampshire's small. We have about between 700 and 800 students whose parents are on active duty. So we're a very small state. They are spread all over the state, but certainly not in comparison to some of the other states, but equally as important to us. The other piece to New Hampshire, and it's becoming more and more clear for us, is the importance of our National Guard. And, we continue to deploy a number of folks from New Hampshire to various places all over the world, but as well as things that happen nationally. So do I have an accent? I thought I sounded more like a Massachusetts person, but I'll leave it at that. And so New Hampshire has some interesting situations that happen with us because we are so small, and yet we have this very large, over 7,000 students whose families are involved in the National Guard. So that's going to become a big issue for us in New Hampshire. Let me jump into creating some notes that I have. I'll stop if you have questions, but then again, I'll answer them at the end. In terms of creating a successful state council, I like to think we have one. And the things that I'll talk about will be the implementation of the compact. We'll talk about the membership a little bit more. I know Rosemary highlighted some of that. I also want to talk about the representation from the appointment from the US DOD, because that's important and that has to happen. The purpose of and we'll go through this as I go through my slides, but thinking about my presentation, we're going to talk about the engagement of stakeholders. So important, so critically important to the work. and how to disseminate relevant and critical information about the compact is also really important for our state council. That's an incredibly important part of our work. Also, no question about it, there are cases that could be brought to our council, but like in Rhode Island and like in many other states, our SLOs are like so valuable. The SLO that we have in New Hampshire is just, she works side by side with me, and like Rosemary, I don't know what I would do without her. She's a valuable asset to the process, and I'm so happy that they are so much more involved in the work with us as we have all matured as an organization. Can I flip some slides? I already did that slide, so we can go to the next one. Great. So I think, again, I look at the compact all the time because I think you really need to read it. Every state is a little bit different. When I look at it, I know that there's all kinds of important pieces in it about our work, that we are timely for making sure that youngsters are taken care of in a timely manner, that we are careful about student placements. All of those issues come to play when we're thinking about the compact. And those things are clearly articulated, at least in the New Hampshire compact. Eligibility is a big one. And we often hear about eligibility issues. That's those students, perhaps they're coming from another country. I've received calls from people from Japan coming back and coming to New Hampshire and wondering about kindergarten, and they've already been in kindergarten, but they don't meet the age requirement in New Hampshire. So, I mean, that's pretty easy one to do. The rules are pretty clear that the youngster enrolls in kindergarten and they're not asked to wait out another year. But I think it's important that you know that compact and that the members of the council know it. So we do take time, and when we put together materials at our annual meetings, we put together we also include the compact so that people see it. So if you're putting together your packets, when you're providing information to your council members, I think it's really important to make sure that those pieces of information are included in their meeting notes. We have other issues, and Rosemary highlighted it, youngsters coming from other states, making sure they have credits, courses. And I think the thing that we hear a lot about is graduation. It is so important. And you think about it, a youngster has been from one place to another. And so that culminating experience of graduation is so important to them, and making sure that they graduate on time and have the credits that are associated with graduating. So those are some of the things in the compact that help guide us and give us good direction. Let's see, what's next? That's it. We've established that organization and operation of the council that runs pretty smoothly now. It's really great that our council stays pretty much the same. We haven't had much turnover, which is really nice. And so we see the same people at the table, and I consider those folks at the table our ambassadors. They're ambassadors for the compact and for our students whose families are active duty. And and sitting at the table, they learn more and more. We did have one retirement last year, our superintendent, but the new superintendent took right over and jumped right in and has become very involved. So again, it's great that we have the same faces at the table most of the time, and that helps in terms of the organization and operation. And again, we do some of the similar things that Rosemary talked about, and that's oversight and enforcement and resolution to disputes. And most important is finding those solutions to help families. Could we go? Yeah. the composition is often, again, outlined in the compact. And so we have folks from, in ours, there's somebody from the governor's office, somebody from the Department of Ed, a member of the legislator from either Senate or House. We also have superintendents, and but we added some other people that aren't named. We do have the NHIA represent, our athletic executive director serves. We also have the executive director for the special education directors for the state of New Hampshire. She sits on it. And we've become a pretty regular at having a member of the National Guard sit on our, he's not a voting member yet, but does sit with us and shares a lot of information and programs with us. And we have found that to be very beneficial. And so the other piece that we are now looking to bring onto our council is a parent, and 1-2 parent. We've actually had family members come and speak at the council, but they're not regular members. But we feel it's pretty important. And I think we knew that from our meetings, from our annual business meetings when we have the panels. I think those were one of the best parts of our annual business meeting, because we're actually hearing from those folks, those stakeholders who are accessing the services. So we sort of want to mirror that and have a parent on our committee, on our council. It's funny, I'm going to get his wrong title, but at the Navy base, the commander, hope I said that right. And he's actually a dad too, so that works out great because he has it from a parent perspective, and that helps to make sure that we are responsive to our family needs. And then, of course, after that, we do talk about frequency of meetings, time and place, and it depends. You know, last year our meeting was in March of 20. And it was March 13th. And I don't know if anybody else remembers that date, but I sure do. We were all sitting in our meeting. We were at the Navy base because they invited us to have our meeting there. We were all excited. We were going to have a tour of the facilities, and it was awesome. Just a great day. They bussed us in and so forth. And but we were all a wreck. There were 3 superintendents sitting at the table, and they were announcing that we were all going into lockdown, basically, right? Because of the pandemic. And so knowing that our meeting got abbreviated, we knew that we needed to have, so we had another meeting this fall just to have a couple more meetings during the year, because we knew that our time was abbreviated. And it was important that we get back together and reach out to each other. So we've done that. So it's going to depend. Perhaps there are issues that come up and you want to have your meetings more frequently. And when you do it and where is important. We have done it in superintendent's offices. And we, like I said, the last time we did it right at the base, the Navy base in Portsmouth. So that's a choice for the council. So I think if the agenda isn't meaningful and it doesn't relate to anybody, it's going to be a turnoff. I think people want to know that you have an agenda that's meaningful, that they're not just going to a meeting for a couple of hours or whatever and not having something that they can take away from that meeting. So when we do that, I think we actually have an example. Can you open that link, Lindsay? Will it open? No. We're going to
Kathleen, give me just a moment and I'll pull it over. You can continue.
Yeah, okay, I'll keep going. So when we're developing the agenda, the first person I talk to is our school liaison officer, because she knows what's going on. This happens to be the agenda that we had in March and at the base last March, and just kind of reviewed everything. But these are issues that we wanted to share with them. We always share the information about the annual business meeting, any highlights from that. We also, we're engaged in the Purple Star Initiative. And so we have just identified 25 schools in New Hampshire that will have been invited to participate in that. So we had a presentation on that. And that was an initiative that we were interested in doing. We also review our goals and what we want to, what we would like to accomplish. We talked about, you can see, National Guard. Again, that was a big issue in New Hampshire, continues to be a big issue. I'm hoping it becomes more involved in the compact. We have not had success in really connecting with our Coast Guard, and yet we have a Coast Guard base in Rye along the seacoast of New Hampshire. So we're working on engaging them and getting them becoming more involved. And then we always talk about students. We always talk about what their needs are. Like I said, we've had students come and shared with us their experiences, and that is really valuable. And it gives the folks at the table a chance to ask questions and hear their story. So I would always encourage people to do that. One of the other things that we do is a case study. So we'll take a situation that has happened that requires some discussion. It's probably been solved, but we want to talk it through with the folks at the table. One, it gives you a different perspective and new ideas about solutions, and makes the work real. I think that's important. They have to feel, if they want to stay with you and stick with it, they need to make sure that the work is real and meaningful. Again, we were all scheduled for a tour of the shipyard. We're going to go back. We've been invited back. We haven't gone back yet, as soon as we finish with this pandemic, but we had planned a tour of the shipyard, of which we had to pass on and because of the situation. But I just wanted you to see an example of one of our agendas. And again, we always have an opportunity for people to ask questions, talk about what we're doing, and review any of the items on the agenda. We follow this up with what we call after action report. Kristen, Kristen's good like that. She keeps me with the good military language. So this is after action report. And we just take what happens at the meeting and kind of just talk about who was there and who was invited and the materials, a little bit about what happened, what the discussion was, and perhaps even some of the outcomes so that we can follow up with it as we do the work during the year. So I know you're going to get these. So if when I think the PowerPoint presentation will be available, so you can just, if you want to take a closer look at it, that will be available to you. So, my background, because I'm an educator, I believe that you change behaviors and you, with positive reinforcement, and I believe that's the case with communication. And it's got to be positive, and it's got to be, you have to tell your success stories. People have to know that the work that's done results in a positive outcome for our students. After all, that's what we're focused on. I think it's important that we share information about what we do. We do that via posting of our meeting agendas, posting of our action items. Our meetings are posted. We post them at the Department of Ed so that in actuality, I saw that question come up, it's considered a public meeting, and we could have other folks into our meetings. We have also, again, with Kristen's help, we have targeted groups in the state: principals, superintendents, counselors, ADs, social workers, and school secretaries, who are really important, right? Because they are the gatekeepers. And we try to set up meetings to meet with them and talk to them about the compact so that that information gets out. We actually had a counselor on our council, a school counselor, but unfortunately she had to leave, so we have to replace that position. Can we go back one slide, Lindsay? Can we go back one? No, no, keep going. The report to the governor. There you go. Okay. Can you open that one? So we have a responsibility to report to the governor's office. So this is a sample of the report that we did in the fall, indicating the new members, what's happening. And we also have talked about what our goals are and in terms of what we want to do. And one of our goals has been to include our National Guard. And so they know that, and that's important here in New Hampshire. So that we kind of share that information with the governor. Obviously, Commissioner of Education, Frank Edelblut, also gets a copy of our letter, but we do that and send that out. And we do use, I don't know why this isn't on MIC3 letterhead, but I know it went out on MIC3 letterhead, so this must be my first copy. Anyway, just a sample letter, some of the kind of information we send. I'm pretty good with that, I think.
So Kathleen, there were some, Sharice put some questions in the chat there. How do we communicate with our state council outside of our meetings? I know when I get any communication from MIC3, our newsletters, updates on the website or whatever, I always send that out to the state council, just to keep them engaged in that work.
Yeah, and emails, and we didn't show it. There were a couple of samples on the slides. New Hampshire's website is under construction, so I couldn't show you. We have a MIC3 page, but I think Lindsay put in the Arkansas, and I think Tennessee is on in terms of their state MIC3 council. So that's an important tool. But yeah, you're right. I send out, when I get information from the national, I send it out and via email or whatever to our members so that everybody knows what's going on. But I think the key is trying to get out, and it's been tough this year, no question about it, is via some face-to-face meetings. I think they're important. I really do.
Some state councils have started their own either Facebook or Twitter or, some social media platforms as well to keep the interest peaked.
And it just, I always try to keep it simple, keep it short and simple, because, you don't want to get into long, messages. I think that's why Twitter and message are often great vehicles to use, because they are short and to the point. And I think people like that. I don't know if there was any other questions. Sharice, was there anything else that came up for? And
no question. I'm just typing in information that supplements your, your comments.
And again, I would say I consult with the national. I have no problem. Any new commissioners, don't hesitate. Even if you don't have an idea what you're talking about, they will help you through, trust me, and understanding all of the implications of the situation. They will always be there for you. So I want to encourage people to do that. I did that. They did that for me. This was way out of my comfort zone. Didn't really have, other than the youngsters I had in my school district, really didn't have much other experience around this issue. And so for me, it was a learning curve, but I had plenty of help. And I think if you want to stick with it and enjoy this work, then take advantage of the folks around you, because it's really helpful. So we have another section that we want to do. We'll go over quickly, and we talked a little bit about it in that the Department of Defense and the work that they do. We always have a presentation at our annual business meeting from the department. And we also, they help with the designation of the military rep to serve on the state council. For instance, the commander at the Navy base serves on our council, and that was helped and facilitated by the Department of Defense, so that was a smooth transition. And they do change up a lot. I noticed that, you'll see a lot of changes in that, but they're there to help you and to make sure that there's a representative from the military on the council.
And this is where the SLO also helps out, our school liaison, when there are a change of command and so forth. Our SLO always facilitates a meeting, a one-on-one meeting with the commander before even the state meeting. So they get to know you, and you look here, the role is to be the liaison. Our commander, our new commander now, is very much engaged in the educational piece. His wife is a teacher, so we're hearing lots more. He wants to hear a lot more about what we're doing in the schools with regard to curriculum, with regard to, the COVID stuff and the COVID slide and all those things. So, every commander is different, obviously, and their level of participation varies depending on what they have to do and their specific interests. So.
I just think it's a great asset to the councils and their voice and their concerns, really helpful. And again, I would do a shout out to the SLO in New Hampshire, and I know she services New Hampshire and Maine, Kristen Ferrillo, and she too has been the liaison to the commander, which is again very helpful for me and for our council. So if you do everything you can, if possible, and get help if you need, to make sure that you have a military representation on your council. It's critical.
They don't vote, as that slide said. They're there, to express their interest. And as I said, my new commander is not shy about that. And how do we go about engaging the military? Our parent groups. I think it's great. Kathleen talked about having parents sit in on her state council. We have a parent liaisons sit in on our state council as well. Base command, military functions, when we can go to them, they typically invite the commissioner. And it's always important to make that appearance and represent what we're doing for our military families. And conversely, we invite our commander to our graduations when life was normal, graduations, and to any other functions that we might have, like scholarship night, National Honor Society. Even our elementary schools will invite our commander to their barbecue days or whatever. Always having that connection is important.
I've also seen some businesses that the Service Credit Union in New Hampshire is very involved, and I know that Kristen does some work with them also, involved with military kids and the military families. And so the business connection is one that I would like to explore a little bit more. That may be another empty chair at our council meeting, because they are very well connected in our state to some of the military families. So especially with the credit union, they have a whole military.
That's a good point. See, I learn something every time I do this training with you, Kathleen.
So that's going to be an important piece for us as we explore it. We feel like we've made progress on our goals, and I think that's just another piece of our work.
Yep. This is the heartbeat of our organization. what our mission and what our core values are. We about doing the right thing for our children, and smooth education, successful educational transitions. And as I said at the beginning, this is the one I worry about the most, with, you know, an equal playing field. You know, there are some communities and districts and states who haven't even had children in school this year because of COVID. And, you know, if they're moving, what kind of a level playing field is that, you know, the inequities. So the next slide talks about our organization model. You know, national really, again, supports all the work that we do. We have an ExCom committee that is comprised of our chairs of our committees and the officers. At our national office, we have our executive director, who serves as the secretary for the ExCom, general counsel, and then Lindsay and Mary are supports at the national office.
This is a new slide for me. So I guess it's just a, you know, a resolution process that can be used relative to some of the issues that come up. And again, if you look at it, you'll see that many of them are, you know, around special ed programs, credits, attendance is also another one. And then eligibility for activities around extracurricular activities. I talked about graduation. So these are all the issues, and then using a format to be able to help you make some decisions about how those cases can be resolved. I always say resolve it at the lowest level. And as a commissioner, when there's an issue, and most of the time, I have to tell you that Kristen often, just like Rosemary talked about her slow, we try to resolve it at that level with Kristen. But when it does come to me, first thing I do is talk to Kristen about it. And then I can reach out to our superintendents and to those folks that make those decisions to resolve it, so that we don't have to, you know, drag people through meetings and hearings and everything else. So always try to resolve it at the lowest level. I'm only going to say that it's really been it's been a learning curve for me. It certainly was out of my comfort zone in terms of military experiences, and you know, I see myself, I'm just a school teacher, right? And so I didn't have those experiences, but it's been an honor to help out in any way I can for that population. And I'm very happy that we're going to jump onto the Purple Star program. Actually, the high school in Concord was one of the high schools asked to participate in it. And so the opportunity to acknowledge and honor and celebrate our students is just, it's awesome. And we're really looking forward to it. I don't know if you participate in that program, but I'll do a shout out. I saw Pete on there. I know he was really, there he is, Pete. Yeah. I know he was a force in that in Ohio, and I'm pleased that we were able to jump on and celebrate our kids, because this is what the work is about. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Questions? Anything else? Charisse, anybody want to know anything else that Rosemary can answer? Rosemary?
This way.
We do not have any questions in the chat box at the moment, but anyone can chime in if they have any closing comments or information or questions.
And you know, one of the things we don't always say, but I feel very comfortable if anybody just wants to chat, they can always contact me, and my contact information is on the website, right? Is that right? Yeah.
Yep. And mine is as well. Happy to chat.
Yeah.
I keep saying, Clark, Massachusetts and Rhode Island, we need to do a joint state council.
We are trying, actually. We were ready to do it, and then of course nothing like COVID-19, but we were ready to do a joint meeting with Maine, New Hampshire and Maine. So that would have been our first jump into that.
Mhm.
And I'd like to pursue that. So if you want to go first with Massachusetts, then we'll see how you do and then I can follow suit.
Okay. I'll put Clark on that.
Okay, well, if we don't have any questions, I see folks are jumping off already, but I just want to thank the attendees and both our presenters, Commissioner Quaker and Commissioner Murphy, for the great information and sharing these best practices, and for everyone else in the comments for sharing their questions and thoughts. We appreciate your time and effort in supporting the compact, and of course, overall for military children and families. So if there are no other questions, thank you, Commissioner Lynch. If there are no other questions, we'll sign off for today then. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, and stay well, stay safe.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.